Good evening. This evening is our monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustment. We are committed to a transparent process and encouragement of public comment during our meetings. We will be accepting testimony from all parties. If you wish to testify on any particular petition before us this evening using the Zoom platform, please use the raise hand feature. You can raise your hand at any time and we will recognize you at the appropriate time for the presentation of evidence for each case. If in person, please hand staff your speaker's card. Planner Robin Keefe will be moderating the hybrid meeting and will be asked to provide names of those individuals that wish to speak. Before we get started, did want to highlight that B.A or B.A.30/23, Jeremy and Crystal Marshall, that's the Melrose Ridge Drive petition, has been postponed. So it will not be heard during this month's meeting. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
just so everybody is aware, we received a telephone call from Mr. Marshall yesterday afternoon. We did our best to advise anybody that had submitted a comment. We contacted the trustees of the Homeowners Association and we posted the site. So if somebody's on Zoom or here in person tonight for this, our apologies, we didn't get to you.
Thank you, Director Yunich. I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Wildwood's Board of Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Bob Morris, board member, Arnie Sprunger, board member, Dave Bertolino, alternate member, Daniel Sides, alternate member, and myself, Jared Frank, chair. The Department of Planning staff present is Joe Vunich, director of planning, and Robin Keefe, planner. Assistant city attorney Brad Pryor and court reporter Courtney Tallman are also present via Zoom. First, I offer into the record of affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, December 21st, 2023, and take official notice of the zoning ordinance of the City of Wildwood, including Chapter 400, Article 2, authorizing and establishing the Board of Adjustment's powers and duties. Now, let me explain the hearing procedure. Please be aware that the information I'm about to describe is also provided on the Board of Adjustment public hearing procedure handout, which was available online prior and up to tonight's meeting. This hearing is informal in nature. However, the meeting's proceedings will be recorded by a reporter for future transcription if needed. The petitions are called in the order listed on the agenda. As the petition is called, I will ask a Department of Planning staff member to read each request into the record. Thereafter, the Department of Planning will have opening remarks and a brief slide presentation. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will be asked to state their name and address, be sworn in by the court reporter, make a brief presentation to the board explaining the nature of the requested variance, and present such evidence and witness testimony that may evidence the practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship that warrant the variance. The board will only consider the unique character of the property to determine whether they warrant the granting of a variance. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts of the petitioner's presentation. When the board is satisfied with the material presented by the petitioner, the chair will then ask if there is anyone present or online who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the requested variance. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address, be sworn in, and then provide their evidence or oral testimony. Procedurally, the petitioner may request a continuance at any time during the hearing prior to a call for the vote in order to bring in additional evidence or testimony. The board may also continue the proceedings. After the submission of the testimony and evidence from all interested parties, the board will ask for a staff person to provide the Department of Planning's report on this matter if required by any member of the board, the petitioner, or any individual that is participating in person or online. Once all witnesses have been heard, the chair will call for a motion to grant or deny with or without conditions, then the board will vote. At that time, the presentation of evidence relating to the petition is concluded and no further evidence will be permitted. The board may make a decision today. 4 members of the board must vote in favor of the variance for it to be approved. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use, or it will expire. If the board's decision is unfavorable, the petitioner has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. This appeal must be done within 30 days of the decision. Ms. Keefe, are there any questions at this time?
I lost sound.
I'm sorry, Courtney, what was that?
I lost sound. I can't hear if she's talking. I can't hear anything she's saying. I can hear you.
Were you able to hear Ms. Keefe just then?
No, I can only hear you.
Those in attendance tonight via Zoom, if you have any question regarding the protocol of the Board of Adjustments hearing, if you would use the raise hand feature, we'll recognize you and try to answer the question. If not, we'll be ready to proceed.
Hearing no questions at this time, the meeting will proceed. Will the department please read in the first request into the record, which will be followed by a brief slide presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the board, the first item is BA 31-23, Thomas and Kelly Brooks, 2638 Center Avenue, Wildwood, Missouri, 63040. Care of Mark Doring, Doring Engineering, Inc., 4850 Lee May Ferry Road, St. Louis, Missouri, 63129. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of retaining an attached garage and side stairwell utilized for basement egress, such being upon the property located at 2638 Center Avenue, locator number 24V510034, Wesley Park Subdivision, Lot 3, which would authorize a front yard setback distance of 19 feet in lieu of the required 20 feet for the garage area, and a northern side yard setback distance of 5 feet in lieu of 10 feet for the stairwell. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.140 R3 10,000 square foot resident district regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance and ordinance number 2706, approved by the Wildwood City Council on June 13th, 2022. This particular property is located in Ward 8. And before Ms. Keefe begins the presentation of slides, the department would like to introduce into the record regarding this request the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony or evidence that is provided as part of tonight's hearing. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Our first case this evening is located in the Wildwood Town Center, just south of Manchester Road and to the east of Highway 109. It is on the east side of Central Avenue. And here you can see the area. This highlighted area was recently subdivided into 4 lots. The subject lot is 14,000 square feet in area. It is zoned R3, 10,000 square feet residence district. And it should also be noted that Central Avenue is a city maintained road that was recently accepted by the city for such. The variance in question is required because there is an already built single family dwelling upon this lot. It was built just this year in 2023 and occupied just last month in November. However, when it was built, there was a portion of the attached garage that protruded into the front yard setback area, which you can see here just by foot. And there was also an emergency ingress egress area with stairwell and retaining wall out of the walkout basement lower area. And this is at the 5-foot setback instead of the 10-foot setback required by our zoning code. But it is required by the building code for emergency purposes. In the application, it was noted that the petitioner had, or the builders rather, had a misunderstanding about the extent of the right-of-way, which had to do with that first mistake, and then the building code necessity required the second. This is the front of the residence, and we are facing northeast. First, I'm just going to give you some context of the area. This is the rear yard, and we're looking southwest. This is the petitioner's residence. This is the side of the home, and we're facing northwest. This is the garage area. This is Center Avenue, looking southwest. And this is Center Avenue, looking northwest. This is just across the street from the dwelling. And then this area here is the subject of that first part of the variance. This is the area that protrudes into the front yard setback area. And so if you wanted to look at it, looking at the whole front of the dwelling is right here. Now we're looking at the northern side yard area looking east. And that side stairwell is featured here. So you can see the retaining wall area and the fence. And then this is looking in the opposite direction, looking west. There have been 2 comments in support of this variance, one from someone in the notification area, and then a comment from the petitioners themselves. That concludes my presentation at this time. If the board has any questions, Director Vunich and I are here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. At this time, the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
Good evening. I'm Mark Doring, president of Doring Engineering. Next to me is Tom Brooks. Tom's the owner, and Kelly is in the audience right behind.
And your relation to the property, Mr. Doring?
I am the engineer of record.
We'll get you sworn in, and then we'll swear in Mr. Kell or Mr. Brooks as well.
I can't see them. There we go. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And Mr. Brooks will do the same for you. If you state your name,
Tom
address.
Brooks. I'm the owner of 2638 Center Avenue.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I proceed, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here this evening to hear this petition. I'm gonna have Tom speak first, and then I'm gonna speak, but I do want to point out that this error with the foot over line was not realized until a couple days before them actually closing on the property. And so they were ready to move in. So it was a very difficult situation for everybody involved. With that, I'd let Tom talk for a moment.
Thanks, Brooks.
So my wife and I were in an apartment and needed to get out. And our interest rate lock ended at 5 p.m. on the 30th of October. And we had found out through Mark's firm about the issue with the garage. And we were forced to go ahead and move forward. And at that time, we took the risk of having to come in front of you and work through this issue. About a week or week and a half after that date, we learned of the issue on the north elevation with the egress in the retaining wall. I'd just like to point out, I personally believe it's a much better look than a galvanized prefab window wall, and there is no foundation. I've been in the business for about 30 years, commercial, and we've always considered a structure to have a foundation. So this sits on a gravel pad. It's not tied to the home's foundation. And I believe the concrete slab and drain were a part of the approved drawings. And so I'm going to let Mark go ahead and go. And if you have any questions, I'll be standing by.
Mr. Brooks.
Thanks, Tom. And so let's talk about the area well first, I guess, as Tom indicated. It's made out of a modular block wall. It's not a concrete foundation wall. And as you saw in the pictures, it's very nice. Has about a 3-foot railing on top of it, which is no different than you could put a 4-foot fence around the whole thing. So it looks very, very nice and well done. Grade wise, it fits into the house very well. There's only a couple of feet that have to step up, where if it had been in the different location, it would be a lot more steps coming out of it. So position wise, from a practicality engineering standpoint, and even the railing, it's very nice in my opinion. Okay. As to the piece in the front that comes over a foot, I want to explain what actually happened. Okay. So I'm the engineer in the company. I'm not the surveyor, but we use a program called AutoCAD, which we always use. Okay. And AutoCAD likes to keep getting money from us. So every 18 months or so, they do a upgrade in the software package. Okay. AutoCAD decided recently they're trying to go international with their package. And so what happened on the last change that we received is there's a thing in this world that I didn't even know about, but my surveyor did. There's a thing called international foot and US foot. Okay. Well, in the last version, they had it set to go to international foot instead of US foot that we've used all along. Okay. And there was no documentation when we received the software that said, hey, be aware of this, this, and this. And there's literally hundreds of different settings in these programs that you go through. So it was a change in the software issue that did it to us. Okay. And we simply did not realize it. And that's why we're here this evening. And we intended to set the building a foot behind the property line. The difference between those two units is actually 2 feet. So we actually ended up a foot in front of the property line. So I apologize to everybody on that. That one just totally caught us off guard. We didn't know we should even been looking for the thing. Okay. And while I'm speaking to that fact, I want to make it real clear too and be honest and upfront, which I always try to get everything up front out. Okay. The house to next door, okay, was on that same grid. And the house next door that's already under roof, we haven't had time to file it because we just found out about it after this one. The front porch is a foot over the front yard property line. It lines up exactly with this overage on this one here. And so we will be coming back to you. You'll get to see me again next month, I guess is what I was going to say. So I apologize. That's how it happened. And if you guys have any questions, Tom and I would be happy to try and answer them for you. Thank you.
Well, I was curious about that actually. Since it's a new home, sometimes we deal with issues where the house was here, 50 years ago and it was before Wildwood and all that, but this was a new home. So I think I understand why the front one got dorked up or how that happened. But on the side, did we not know that we were in the setback, the 10-foot setback?
So the contractor, okay, Mike, Mr. Whalen, is not here today, but I said, Mike, same question to Mike. Okay, Mike just said, he didn't think that these window well escapes are required for finished basement for basements now. Okay, he didn't realize that that was the case, and he thought, again, like Tom mentioned, that we have a Versalock retaining wall, okay, which is allowed, I believe, and I'm not an expert on your zoning ordinance, so you tell me, but I believe a Versalock wall is allowed in the setback as long as it's not taller than 6 feet. Okay, so the contractor thought that since it was a Versalock wall, that wouldn't require to meet the setback, and it didn't have a footing. Okay, and I do get that discussion, but maybe not in the city of Wildwood because everybody has different rules. Okay, but it's about a 3-foot wall and there's about a 3-foot fence on top of it, and that was what happened.
Sure. Okay. So those plans were submitted to Wildwood, before the house was constructed, right? So, okay. It would have shown on the plans that you were actually in the setback with that well, correct?
It did show a slab, but yeah, I can't speak to anyone. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, the drawings that were submitted for approval, my understanding, showed a slab in that same location that would have been into that setback that you're referring to. And that was all it was shown, I think, a slab with a center drain that tied into the drain tile around the basement and went off into the drainage area. With the grades, my wife and I were under understanding originally that we would have a complete walkout basement. Whalen Custom Homes came to us and said, with the grades, we're gonna have to do a slight walk up. And at that point with the slab, I preferred a clean retaining wall in lieu of something else. I was not aware of a setback issue, and I did not consider that a structure. I guess in hindsight, landscape boulders and stones could have been used further back to create a swale. But I think that would have created a significant impact to lot 2, because their driveway would have had to have a 6-foot plus retaining wall to hold that out to get the drainage to drain up. Well, that's what I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Hey, sure, Mike.
Sorry. Just curious. So did the title company know about this discrepancy?
Yes, sir.
And they were okay with it?
They pointed it out real quick too. No, so they had to go through some things too. You know, they had concerns of closing that they had to rectify with their attorneys and the title insurance company, but they went through all those steps.
Curious about how they did that. I mean, obviously they were signing off on something that wasn't done right. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter really in the long scope.
No, and you know, so we do this a lot, and different title companies have different ideas about how far you can actually be over a building line, which blows my mind. Okay. But some will say it's within 10%, it's okay. And it's like, where did this come from? To me, it's a building line. Okay. But they had to deal with their attorneys and to provide title insurance for them, and they worked it through their legality.
Okay.
Any speakers in the audience who may want to favor or speak in favor or opposition to the request? Thank you, gentlemen. Any speakers in the and online?
If there are any speakers on Zoom that would like to comment on this particular request, if you'd use the raise hand feature, Ms. Keefe will promote you and you can speak after being sworn in by the court reporter.
Looks like we have a raised hand by Mike. Mike, if you could please state your name, address, relation to the property, and we'll get you sworn in.
Sure. My name is Michael Whalen. My address is 640 Thorntree Lane, Eureka, Missouri. I am the builder of Mr. and Mrs. Brooks' home. I just number one want to thank you all for hearing this tonight.
Mr. Whalen.
Yes, sir.
We'll get you sworn in, please. Sorry to
I
interrupt
can
you.
barely hear you. I apologize. The audio is pretty bad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Courtney, could you get him sworn in, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, barely.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, please proceed, Mr. Whalen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate you listening to our request this evening. Just wanted to quickly explain the just a little background on the egress window well. So when we did submit plans, Tom was correct. We did submit plans to the city architectural review board. It did show an egress door at that location. When in the middle of construction, we realized that the grading, the topographic grading that we had going into the project and what we were actually dealing with was a little bit different. Our interpretation, we read the zoning ordinance with regard to no structures being allowed in the side yard setback line. It is our mistake in not, you know, the term structure is not defined in the zoning code. And in St. Louis County, they don't care if you use a tin window well or if you build them out of block. And given that we were already past the zoning portion of the zoning approval had already been authorized, we did not believe we were building a structure in the setback line or in the setback, side yard setback. That was pointed out to us after subsequent to right before Mr. and Mrs. Brooks closed. Ms. Ripito explained that the city does consider whether it's subterranean, whether it has a foundation or not, that an egress window well is considered a structure. And that was just absolutely, she said, Mike, you simply should have brought that back into the city. And given that the building inspection is performed by St. Louis County, what we built was in complete compliance with St. Louis County's building ordinance. We did not realize it was a violation of the city's zoning ordinance. In most municipalities, an egress window well is not, regardless of what it's made out of. So I just wanted to give you guys some context on that. It was certainly never intended to be a bait and switch type situation. We just wanted to make sure that the grading and the drainage on that side of Center Avenue worked well and didn't cause any problems. We built several homes up the street 5 or 6 years ago, and we did have some drainage issues. It was so flat, and getting the water to go where we wanted it to go. It was made abundantly clear by the board and staff that with Wesley Park, they wanted to ensure we didn't have any repeat grading problems like we did at Old Town Park up the street. So in an effort to create the egress that Mr. and Mrs. Brooks needed, we, regraded the yard a little bit, but it was in accordance with St. Louis County's building code, and we just didn't realize or understand that it was a violation of the zoning ordinance. So I just wanted to give you guys that context.
Questions for Mr. Whalen?
Yeah, Mr. Whalen, so just to be clear, when you realized that you weren't going to be able to just put a door there and that you were going to have an egress well, you had to make changes to your plan, which would put you into the setback. You did or you didn't go to the city to just confirm that that was compliant with Wildwood's zoning ordinances?
Well, I read the ordinance, and the ordinance said there shall be no structure built within the side yard setback. I also read through the entire ordinance to look for a definition of structure. Typically in our industry, like Mr. Brooks said, a structure is something that's permanent, that has a footing, has a foundation, and is affixed to the building. And in most cases is above grade and not below grade. So, reading through the ordinance, there's nothing in there that says window wells are considered structures. So I probably should have called and asked for clarification, but just upon reading the text of the code, it is not specifically prohibited in the zoning ordinance as it's written today. And given the fact that St. Louis County did the inspection and approved it, we didn't think that there was anything wrong. So no, I did not call the city, because typically our interaction with the city is pretty much complete after we get our zoning authorization. We don't typically go back for what I consider to be building code things that are inspected by St. Louis County, but I certainly will going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Whalen from the board? Thank you, Mr. Whalen. Any other participants in the audience that want to speak in favor or opposition to the request? Seeing none. Would anyone like to hear oral presentation of the department's report?
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. No, the whole report. See,
Glad to do it, Mr. Sides. I've been practicing.
no, we'll get to Mr. Sides' request, which is, I think, just any final recommendations or final comments from the department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the board, the department has prepared a favorable recommendation regarding this particular request. And certainly the questions that have been posed by the board members relative to the process and how things end up in front of you like this, I actually believe, and then to a certain degree, not surprised there's more of it than what we actually see and have to address. It is a complicated process. And when you think about Center Avenue in particular, a right-of-way that varies in width and recently was accepted by the city for public maintenance, all in all, the department understands the current circumstances. And as in the past, when the Board of Adjustment has been presented situations like that, the removal of the portion of the dwelling that extends into the setback or some other alternative to the egress ingress well is really in no one's best interest. And so from that perspective, it's a beautiful home. Brooks have moved in time for the holidays, and the department is of the opinion there is no impact caused by it. I will tell you, there is a definition of structure in our zoning ordinance, and it is as broad as the Great Plains in terms of what it covers. And it's basically any assemblage of material for use or occupancy. So when you put two things together, you can use it or occupy it. We got a structure. So if there are any questions, the department would be glad to answer them, Ms. Keefe and I.
Thank you, Director Munich. Any other final comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, we will close the proceeding for a vote. May I have a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Sides. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bertolino. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Sprunger?
Approve.
Mr. Bertolino? Approve. Mr. Sides?
Approve.
And I approve as well. Congratulations, your variance is approved. Thank you. Into the second request, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and my apologies to the petitioner. I'm sure I'm not going to say the name correctly, but I'll do my best. BA 32-23 Thiad and Mavish Neeson, 16186 Clayton Hollow Lane, Wildwood, Missouri 63005. Request an exception to the natural resource protection requirements for the purpose of installing a new fence with a maximum height of 54 inches upon the property located at 16186 Clayton Hollow Lane, locator number 22U 640938, Clayton Hollow Subdivision, Lot 5, which would authorize its installation within the final natural resource protection area. The overall length of the fencing planned is 166 feet and generally to be placed in the rear and side yard areas of the lot, with 20 feet of it to be within the protected area of the lot. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 420.200 Natural Resource Protection Standards and Procedures of the Subdivision and Development Regulations of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code as applied to properties located in the R3 10,000 square foot resident district, and Chapter 415.140 R3 10,000 square foot resident district regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance. This particular lot is located in Ward 2. And again, before Ms. Keefe begins the slide presentation, the department would respectfully enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning relative to this request and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony or evidence that is provided as part of tonight's hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director. Ms.
Okay.
Keefe?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, our second case this evening, the subject lot is located in the northeastern portion of Wildwood, just north of Clayton Road, and in the Clayton Hollow subdivision. The Clayton Hollow subdivision was approved in 2000 by the City of Wildwood and consists of 19 lots, all over 10,000 square feet in area. The subject lot is at the southwestern corner of Clayton Hollow Lane and Clayton Hollow Drive. It is zoned R3 10,000 square foot residence district. And the lot consists of primarily grassy turf area and is fairly level. This is the front of the residence looking southwest. The subject of this variance request is a black aluminum ascot panel type fence, which is 54 inches high. And there's about 166 feet of length of it planned within the petitioner's rear and side yard areas. However, a small portion of it does fall within the natural resource protection area located on the lot. This fence does match with the rear neighbor's fence. Here you can see the natural resource protection area with the green and the blue. So it's just a small portion of the lot. And then this is the petitioner's residence. The planned fence is in orange. And here you can see it extends from the rear corner of the garage in the side yard area within this utility easement along the rear, connecting with the rear neighbor's fence, and then along the side, bypassing the stormwater catchment easement to the rear corner of the residence. This plan has been submitted to the Homeowners Association for their conditional approval, and they have reviewed it and submitted some conditions. So this is the modified version of it after it was presented to the Homeowners Association. I mentioned it, but there are two easements on the lot. There's a utility easement where the fence will be located along the side of Clayton Hollow Drive. And there is an easement in the stormwater catchment area. This is looking east along Clayton Hollow Lane. And this is looking west along Clayton Hollow Lane. So this is where the petitioner's front residence faces. This is the western side setback area where that stormwater easement is located. This is the rear of the petitioner's residence. And this is the rear of the petitioner's residence. We are now looking east towards Clayton Hollow Drive, and this is the rear yard area. This is the neighbor's fence towards the rear of their yard. And here I am standing in the petitioner's rear yard, looking southwest. And this area is generally all protected area, which then reaches into their yard just a little bit. This is Clayton Hollow Drive, and we're looking northward. And this is looking south along that same road. And this is in that eastern side yard setback area of the petitioner's residence. The proposed fence would extend to this rear corner here. And this is standing across the street of Clayton Hollow Drive, looking at the petitioner's residence so that you can get a sense of that rear yard and side yard area. And then that's just another view of it as well, looking to the west. And I believe this is my final picture. We're looking southward at that side yard setback area. The department has received no comments regarding this case. And there have been 2 fence variances approved in that surrounding area within the natural resource protection area. And that concludes my presentation at this time. The department is available to answer your questions if you have them. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you,
So
Ms.
the
Keefe.
Yep.
This time, the petitioner, please come forward, state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
If the petitioner is on Zoom, if you would please raise your hand, we'll promote you and then you can be sworn in and provide your testimony. Thank you.
If the petitioner can please state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and be sworn in by the court reporter.
Yes, my name is Fuad Naseem. I am the resident of 16186 Clayton Hollow Lane, and I'm the property owner. I am here with my wife. She's the co-owner of the property.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mavish Fuad Naseem, and together with my husband and family, we are the residents, and I'm the property owner of 16186 Clayton Hollow Lane.
Thank you. Get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Can't see them. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please state the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance.
Yeah, as you've seen in the pictures that, we are actually a corner lot, intersection of Clayton Hollow Lane and Clayton Hollow Drive. Clayton Hollow Drive is the only, road leading into the subdivision. So all the traffic of the 19 lots comes through on this road, basically. And my 9-year-old daughter, most of the times after school, along with her friends, likes to play in the backyard. And I feel that, it is very unsafe because we don't have any protection in terms of, fence or anything that way they can just, if they're playing, they can easily walk on the road sometimes. And we have to, both me and my wife, either one of us has to be there to kind of make sure that for their safety that, there is no traffic and all of that, because people do come and go from that Clayton Hollow Drive. And then second is that, she's always wanted to have a pet dog, and we cannot have that also because we do not have a fenced backyard. So these are the two. Is the safety concern is the major one that I have right now, basically, and that's the reason for our request. You have anything to say?
No, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I back him absolutely. Safety and security for the children is our utmost priority right now.
Thank you. Any questions from the board to the petitioners?
Sorry. Trying to get an idea of where this fence sits in accordance to the drain. Is it
Yeah.
down in the lowest spot of the drainage area, or which it looks like it kind of might be, where it's heading from the front of the house to the back of the house?
Actually, it's all is in the back of the house, and the drain is actually outside of the fence. It's on the other side. I mean, it's just the fence is barely like passing all the way, and it's kind of connecting to the fence in the backyard, which is already there.
I see that now. Okay. Okay. That was
Yes.
all.
Mr. Naseem, have you had an opportunity to read the department's report? They have a few conditions that they recommend.
I mean, with the okay. I'm not aware of any condition. Is it to do with the easement for the utility that as and when required, the owners have to remove the fence and then reinstall it at their own expense?
Well, the department requests an approval with a few conditions. One being a landscape plan submitted to the Department of Planning.
Okay.
And the second one is that that essentially that maybe the fence may be placed on the eastern side utility easement. However, it should not intrude into the western side stormwater catchment area. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, I mean the catchment area, okay, because this rainwater thing is like outside of the fence. We are kind of trying to bring the fence a little bit inside, but it's
Okay,
just
so
yeah.
so the western side, you're in agreement, and then the eastern side, it's obviously up, it's at your own risk. And
Correct.
that's okay?
Correct. Yeah, that's fine. That's yeah. Should.
Any questions for the petitioner from the board? Well, thank you. Thank you both. Any
Thank you.
speakers in the audience that may want to speak in favor or opposition to this request?
Mr. Chair, I do have a card from Robert Kenkel. If you'd like to speak at this time.
Yes, please come forward, Mr. Kenkel. If you could please state your name, address, relation to this petition, and we'll get you sworn in.
Name is Robert, last name Kinkle, 16199 Clayton Hollow Lane, Lot B of Kinkle subdivision.
And we'll get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Just a couple quick comments. If I understood the plannings and they're recommending approval of this. And I don't have any opposition other than realistically, if you look at this drawing, probably less than 25% of the fence that he's going to install is actually going to be in this protected area. So there's only a few feet on the east and a few feet on the west that would encroach this. I'm glad to see that the homeowner is willing to shift that fence a little bit away from the catch basin, because that catch basin goes out to Clayton Hollow Road, which MSD is supposed to be in charge of those. And that would be a problem for a homeowner if they had to go in and remove that fence. So that's the only, most of it was pointed out in the question, but I just wanted to point out that small majority of the fence is really in the protected area. So they're really, we're only approving 15%, 20% of his fence that shouldn't cause a problem. There's a lot of drainage from several lots that go into that catch basin, but with the fence not being there, or if they were going to go straight on their property line to jump up over the top of the sewer lid, they'd have to have a man gate or something there to be able to get into that thing. But whatever Mr. Vunovich recommends, I'm 100% behind on this.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Any other speakers in favor or opposition to this petition?
Mr. Chair, if I may, if there are
Yes, sir.
any speakers that would like to comment on this petition that are participating via Zoom, if you use the raise hand feature, Ms. Keefe will promote you and you can then be sworn in and testify.
Mr. Whalen, I see that your hand is up, but I'm assuming it's up from the earlier case. If you would like to speak, I guess you can keep it up, but otherwise, will you please lower your hand at this time?
Wait just one more moment, just in case he did want to speak on this one. Seeing no other raised hands, any final comments or questions from the board? Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome back, Mr. Whalen. Did you want to comment on this particular petition?
No, didn't log out.
Okay. And we will proceed. Would anybody like to hear the oral presentation of the department's report, the entire report?
I will tell you, Ms. Keefe's been practicing too.
Willing to perform.
Any,
I've been moving awful fast.
seeing none, any opportunity or for any final comments from the board?
Yeah, to the department, I know the landscape, submission of a landscape plan, is that required or was that required of the other variances that were granted within the same subdivision?
Excuse me,
I don't,
Ms. Keefe, who's speaking? I don't know who just said that.
This is board member Dave Bertolino.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just couldn't see you. Okay.
to
Thank-
answer your question, I am not entirely sure without checking the record, but it is a standard condition that we usually recommend when a fence is intruding into a natural resource protection area.
Are there, if I can follow up on that, does the petitioner know about this, what that would consist of? And is it going to cost them money to have a landscape plan drawn up, or can they just sketch out or have their fencing company come and say, this is what it's going to look like? And
Typically we accept sketches for
Okay.
this sort of plan. We're just looking to see that they're screening the fence a little bit with some greenery.
okay. Can we make sure that the petitioner understands that requirement?
Yeah.
Mr. Naseem? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. In fact, thank you for bringing that up. You know, I was also a little bit not sure about the, what kind of a landscape plan you want. But I think I can get that, because of my, the fencing company can help with that as well, because I've already done the survey and everything is, done professionally. So I would, and when do I need to submit that?
It would just be part of the zoning authorization process. So if your variance is approved tonight with that condition, just as soon as you submit a landscape plan, we can look it over, approve it, and it would be part of your zoning authorization.
Okay, great. So yeah, just because we are just running into the holidays, and I was wondering how, so yeah, I'm fine with that, and I'll submit that ASAP. And now the other thing also is, do I need to get anything else on this? Because this is the first time I'm having something like this project, and do I need to get a permit, a fence permit from the St. Louis County, or is that a requirement, or?
I believe that the person that you hired to do the fence, he suggested, yes, you should go to St. Louis County for a permit because because I think of how close you are to Clayton Hollow Drive.
Okay, so basically it's because of the reason that it's like a corner lot, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Director Vunich, did you want to add anything there?
The city recently adopted some new regulations relating to fencing. In fact, they're very fresh, so to speak, and all the petitioners will need is an authorization from the city.
Any other questions or final comments from the board?
So he doesn't need to go to St. Louis County. Is that what I'm hearing?
Board member sides, no. In fact, you could actually build a fence up to 6 feet in height if it wasn't in the resource protection area without a county building permit. If it goes over 6 feet, then it becomes a structure. It's kind of a weird way it's treated, but then you would need a county permit.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure he understood, since we just told him they'd have to go.
Thank you for the question.
Any other questions, comments, or the Department of Planning, any other final comments on the petition?
Just the department is supporting an approval this evening, as noted by some of the other speakers. The intrusion of the fence into the natural resource protection areas is pretty minimal overall. And I think basically we're just looking to see that the fence stays out of that stormwater catchment area, and that there is some greening of the fence, particularly along the public right of way.
At this time, we will close the proceeding for a vote. Can I have a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve with the condition of the landscape design.
Do you want to address this, the second point, or just the one?
What was the second point?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't in particular.
Okay. Do we have a second to the motion to approve with the one condition, which is the landscape plan, as Mr. Sides described?
I'm sorry. I thought that the homeowners association or the trustees or whatever, didn't they have some concerns about?
That's kind of the second point, isn't it? But I thought they rectified that.
Can someone help us understand that?
Can you please clarify your question?
Yeah, when I was reading through the packet and it looked like the homeowners association or trustees or somebody had reviewed this and said, yeah, we support that so long as you boom, boom, boom. I don't remember exactly what all the things were, but was that one of the,
That is not one of our recommended conditions of approval, given that they already have a conditional letter with these items presented to them by the homeowners association, and they have their process as well. And the plans submitted to us reflect what are in those bullet points. The department does not.
so we don't
believe
need to call that out?
it.
No,
No.
okay, thank you. Just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
So moving back to Mr. Side's motion, he had a motion to approve with the following condition that a landscape plan be submitted to the department. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll go
That
ahead and
motion.
second it.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Approved.
Mr. Sprunger,
Approve.
Mr. Bertolino,
Approve.
Mr. Sides,
Approve.
and I approve as well. Congratulations, your variance is approved with the one condition as stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I believe that concludes.
Mr. Chair, that's all that's on tonight's agenda, and Ms. Keefe and I would like to wish you the best of the holiday season.
Happy holidays to the department as well. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.